Okay, recording, microphone's on. It's been so long since I've done anything. I'm going to start a new creature project and just, I don't know, just sculpt something. I'm not going to design it myself, I'm just going to sort of base it off some inspiring sort of imagery like I did before. Just to get back into Zbrush and stuff. So I haven't used this program in a while. I don't know, main reason why I haven't done anything in a while. I don't know why, I've just been avoiding it for some reason. And I don't know, I was watching a Cesar Dekel Jr. video of him just sculpting, like using clay and stuff, and he was just like explaining, you know, about insecurity and stuff like that, and I suppose that's probably what it was. You know, I was just insecure. I'm just trying to find this old mood board that I was using, just because it's the size, you know, of the Zbrush document I make, which is, you know, just automatically to my screen size. And I googled something pre-hand, just Google creature, and found some images I like, and the first one that I'm interested in is, where is it? I think I was, yeah, creature. Can't find it now. It had an arm coming out of his armpit. There it is. I don't know, it's pretty cool. Let's see who has actually made this. Is this just a blog? Shape-shifting? It looks like some sort of creature mythology blog. This apparently is a Wendigo. Okay. I'm just going to copy that and paste it into this Photoshop document, and just making a mood board that I can drop into Zbrush, use its inspiration and reference at the same time. I also like the look of this, especially the head region. It's just pretty solid drawing, to be honest with you. Details are really amazing. Nice comic book sort of style. And I'll place that there. I hope this doesn't offend anybody. I'm just literally just copying drawings off the internet. I'm only using it as an inspirational sort of aspect. I'm not going to completely rip off people's ideas. Let's just check out who made this. Highest Worst is a male sort of maybe hobbyist. It's got some pretty cool stuff. Might be something else interesting in here. It's pretty nice. Nah, I want to stay away from human anatomy this time around. Well, it's obviously going to be humanoid, but I don't know, with some sort of fantasy elements in there. Quite like that. I like the tone of this and the whole feel of it. I can paste that in, maybe behind this one. Make that multiply. Not that one. Actually, that works. And we'll make you a multiply as well. And this one, it's gonna erase a little bit around so I can see a little bit better. And I'm just going to merge all these together and drop the opacity a little bit, so it's not too overpowering, you know, as I'm looking at it in ZBrush. Then all I'm going to do is save that out as a New moon board. May as well just whack today's date on it, which is the 16th of July. And I'm just going to set that to desktop for now. And that'll do. No. May as well get rid of this. And I'll open them up on a laptop. What, my new laptop? I'll open up on my laptop, which is to my right, which I use as a reference monitor. And just going to jump straight into Zbrush now. Okay. Let's open a few images up on this laptop whilst Zbrush boots. It's been a while since I've been in Zbrush, so it's maybe a sort of bumpy start. Okay, cool. First thing I want to do is switch to Matcat Grey, because if you import an image whilst it's on the that red sort of waxed material, it really ruins all the colours in the image. Whereas it's Matcat Grey, so just keeps it nice. And I'm just going to start with a Z-sphere and put my symmetry on. Polyframe. Alright. It's been a while. I'm going to really re-familiarise myself with all the tools and stuff. I think the most important thing is to acknowledge that your sculpt is never going to look good in the first sort of few minutes. So I've gone to go Z on it. It's opening my cancel. Don't need you yet. I know it's expired. Just bear with me. Alright, cool. That's still open. No. Right. Just going to use Snake Hook now to really sort of pull out some limbs. Make some dramatic changes to this. I'm going to go for this guy, like this big head sort of shape that's going on. That sort of really overpowering shoulder blade sort of look. It's pretty nice. Maybe I should have gone for a Z-sphere approach, but I don't know, I just feel like this is more organic. I'm using like Snake Hook and stuff. Get that sort of chesty area going. All I'm doing right now is just trying to sort of get some really nice fundamental anatomy sort of shapes to this mesh. I'm not trying to worry too much about what it's looking like, because as I was saying before, you know, the first sort of even up to an hour, you know, don't worry about what it is you're making right now. You know, don't be over analysing everything. At the minute, you know, you're just literally experimenting with the mesh and what it is you want to make out of it. Just trying to make it as workable as possible. Let's get some more volume in these areas. Might go for that sort of big forearm look. I've always enjoyed that in a lot of stuff. Just using the Dynamesh refresh ring to shape that up. And if you've come here looking for, you know, like a real sort of beginner's sort of training and advice, it's not really the place for you. So I'm not gonna sort of explain in great detail what I'm doing and what buttons I'm hitting. This is gonna sound weird, but making these videos is kind of fascinating for me. I don't know why, but I enjoy sort of watching them back sometimes, and a lot of the times it feels like, you know, I'm rediscovering them. You know, like I can't remember what it is I actually did and said, which is kind of weird. I don't know, it's just, it makes the whole process that much more enjoyable for me, just having this recording playing. I'm not quite sure why. It's maybe some sort of vanity or something, I don't know. I enjoy watching myself make something, I don't know, it's just, I don't know, I just enjoy doing it, so yeah. Okay. I've actually got I signed up for a live webinar with Deco, Caesar Deco Jr. He was pretty much the main inspiration for me getting back into all this stuff. So I'm gonna undo that a sec. And I'm just gonna turn on project, so I retain as much shape as possible. Because all it does is, whilst it's, you know, retopologizing everything for you. Oh shit. Wrong one. Brush, inflate. Oh, is it H? Oh, it's N. Can't remember the hotkeys anymore. Okay. It's weird. Like I say though, you know, when you're working on a model, I used to get like really self-critical at even these early stages, you know, the first sort of 20 minutes, you know, I'm like, oh, this isn't working, and it was so silly for me to do that, because to be honest with you, you're not going to make something that's, you know, looking, you know, good in that amount of time. So I don't know, when there is a time when you need to be that sort of critical about your stuff, and you really need to sort of be harsh on yourself sometimes, but the very early sort of stages of a model, you know, you see to take it easy and enjoy it, you know, because this is probably the most fun part, where you're just freely exploring the limits of your imagination, I guess. I'm just trying to think about the underlying sort of structure of this thing. You know, like where bones are, like, and why bits stick out. Just trying to make something more interesting and different. Even though a lot of it is just based roughly on my current understanding of anatomy and how our bones work and stuff. Which, to be honest with you, is not as good as it is, well, as it needs to be, really. I really need to improve my general anatomy knowledge. It's my ultimate downfall to all my stuff. It just requires, you know, a lot of hard work, really. I actually went to a life drawing lesson. Well, not a lesson, but it was just like I paid like £7 to discover this place, and there was just like, there was a bunch of there was a bunch of people that sat in this room, and they were just literally just drawing this naked person. It was pretty weird. Never done anything like that in my life, and I was on my own, just doing this, just drawing this woman. I didn't really like it, to be honest with you. It felt, I don't know, I didn't like the fact that there was no chairs and desks. Everyone was using like their knees to rest on stuff, and it didn't really much make sense to me. Something when you're drawing, you want to be as comfortable as possible. So maybe that must be me just being a bit of an asshole and moaning. But ultimately I did enjoy the actual process of having a live model, to draw. It's invaluable, really. And I learned quite a lot. I do want to attend the next one, but for some reason I know that I'm not gonna. I don't know why, I feel I can get a lot more out of it just on my own, studying under my own direction, instead of having to be in this room with all these awkward people. Yeah. Just try to think how I can make this look. It's looking a bit like some sort of fish. For some reason, anything I make always looks really happy, and I've never understood why. It's like I have like a natural talent for making things look really goofy, and I really want to outlive that. I might put the eyes in a really sort of ridiculous place, like maybe sort of like down here. I don't know, just to be awkward and different, and we'll see how that pans out for us. Some brows, and then up here we're just gonna have like maybe some gills or something. But for now I'm really just trying to get that sort of bulging outlook in these sort of traps area. Snake hook is pretty cool. I've never really done this much shaping with snake hook, but it's working pretty well. So use the deformation to rotate this. It's looking a bit, actually, if I go to the to rotate, I'm just using shift there to snap. Yeah, he just looked like he was sort of leaning back a little bit, and just going to switch to my move brush now and pull back these shoulders and stuff a little bit back, and that. Just thinking about his pose. And obviously he's going to need some hands, so back to snake hook, and let me just think about his pose. I'm just going to have to stand up a sec. Sometimes you've got to do it, and I'm just putting my hands out and just try to think what natural position the hands should be in. Sort of thumbs facing forward seems to be working. and the joint, the elbow is facing backwards. Okay. So if that's the case, I really need to bring out some sort of foam, but it's sort of still in that sort of position. Actually, it needs to be facing down a little bit more, and let's pull out some fingers roughly. Go for 3 fingers, keep it simplistic. Give him a wrist sort of area. I'm going to have to carve this in later on a lot more. So actually, I might not give him a wrist, or at least a defined wrist. I'll put in like suggestion where bones are, you know, where the I'm trying to think of the bone names for the what are they called? You know, like when the wrist joins to the hand, you can see like those little knobbles. Probably needs to be up there-ish. So we have a sort of nicely defined area. But that's probably going to be where the bicep joins and elbow area would stick out there, and these bits would go in a little bit, and probably see that area come down there, and you'd have some sort of bulges on either side where those muscles connect. Still uber rough. It's gonna actually go. I'm actually just going to update that a little bit and go in with the inflate brush and just really bulge out these fingers, so I've got a bit more to work with. Snake hook, and just pull some more of that out. Probably better off using move tool there so it doesn't skew it as much. I want to give him sort of long fingers like this guy has, and the actual shape is going to need some improvements as well. Try not to update Dynamo that much, because it does, you know, destroy a lot of this stuff. And just try to think about the thumb as well. I need that sort of area. There's like a sort of plane here that I haven't put in properly. You know, that sort of space between the thumb and that forefinger. Let's beef it up a little bit. It's kind of awkward. This is where, like, when using what should we call it? Z-spheres can help a lot. But I kind of like working like this, you know, it's really sort of messy, and you know, you're not really caring too much. You know, you're just really sort of, you know, like stabbing into stuff and creating really ridiculously obvious changes. I don't know, I like how I don't know, it just gives you a much better understanding of what it is you're making, and when you go through the process of, like, you know, updating your Dynamo and stuff, everything gets smoothed down and averaged out, and it can really sort of help you sometimes. I'll beef out that back area a little bit, give him some more mass in that area, just to improve his silhouette. Oh shit. Okay. One of the things I have issues on now is the butt area. It's looking it's a bit funky. Just gonna smooth it out a little bit, pull it in a little bit, so his sort of pelvic area isn't quite as crazy. So let me smooth it out. Make it more interesting silhouette there. I don't want to give him too much ghetto booty. solve that twisting area. Make this brush a bit bigger. Just move his knees up. I'm trying to think about his centre of gravity as well. Or should he be, you know, leaning over a little bit? Just trying to think of his silhouette a bit more better. I'm not going to go for this secondary set of arms. So I think it's working pretty well so far. It's going to be more based off this guy. And I'm probably going to add some of this shelling around his back area. I want his back to be, I don't know, like a lot bigger than it's going for right now. Okay, and right, I'm going to try and lower down the resolution of this as much as I can without getting these artifacts in here. 40. Just so I have something to work with in terms of sort of smoothing, not smoothing, when I'm posing stuff. Wow, I just had the sinking feeling that my microphone was on then. I think I need to make the mouth a little bit bigger, or at least pull it back a little more. Right, I think we probably start almost ready to come in now and really start to define what we've got. I'm probably going to take my usual approach just for comfortability's sake. Just make these sort of hooves have a little bit more sort of in diameter and stuff. Yeah. Let's try and make it look like you could actually stand, so you'd probably need a bit more, you know, volume to support his weight. I'm probably gonna push that up a little bit later on or something. Okay, update that one more time, and now I'm gonna switch to my favourite brush in Zbrush, which is the clay buildup brush. Change that down to 0, and just do a few. Yep, that's cool. And I'm gonna turn off Dynamesh for now. So I don't want to update this anymore. I want to keep a nice low res version of this. And I'm just going to change my music, even though you won't be able to hear it, as I'm going to delete the music out of the sound of this video so you can just hear my voice. This album is pretty crazy. Okay, let's go in and start to define all the major areas. Like I say, my anatomy knowledge isn't that good yet, so I'm just going to work with, you know, what I've got in my mind. The thing about anatomy is that depending on what you're learning it for, I've found that, you know, if you want to study anatomy and you're sort of like drawing it from like an anatomy book and you're drawing it in like a 2D on paper and stuff, is that when you come to sculpt it, you'll never ever be good at sculpting it if you don't sculpt it to begin with. You know, you can spend all the time you want drawing anatomy from anatomy books, but if you don't sculpt the anatomy, then, you know, it's pointless to you if that's what you want to use it for. So I found that if I want to learn anatomy for my Zbrush work, then I've got to quite simply sculpt it opposed to drawing it, because I thought, you know, I best do what everybody else is doing and, you know, start drawing all this anatomy stuff so I can get it, you know, sort of in my brain and there and accessible. But that's not the case, really. Just gonna turn that back up so I get much more sort of squarer brush strokes. Start to define these key areas. I've always enjoyed the big forearm look, wide. There's something very nice about that. But for now, you know, I suppose, like I said before, you know, I don't want to stress too much on this sort of, you know, first hour, don't be too self-critical. You know, just be very loose about what you're doing and just have some fun with it, man. That's the approach I'm going to use anyway. Try to get these fingers a bit fatter, especially on that one. You can't really do much with fingers until you get to the higher sort of reses, but just try and get the best out of each subdivision level. Never rush to get to the top. You know, I've been working on countless stuff where, you know, I don't take each level to sort of its highest potential. Yeah, I've just rushed straight to the higher resolution stuff, and it always ends up looking not as good as, well, it's very difficult to, you know, have all the right landmarks and stuff if you rush forward. So, you know, 'cause sculpting on like the really sort of higher resolution stuff, it's just, you can't shape it as well as you can at this sort of level. So just take your time with each level and make sure you've gone as far as you can go with it, really. Quite like this bit. So I'm going to add some of that sort of chest area. In there. Keeping everything symmetrical right now. I do have a tendency to break away from that a lot of the times, just because, I mean, symmetrical stuff is good, it's easy, but I think a lot of the time, especially for video games, why people stick to symmetrical characters is simply because of the time that they've been given to do something. So that's something I've never really taken into consideration, I guess, is that in industry you have like an allotted amount of time to do something in, and usually it's probably not very good. Let's do some of these back muscles. Which probably aren't going to make much sense. I'm going to treat this bit as maybe some sort of fin. It sort of comes in. It's got like a shark's head, kinda, which is pretty neat. Ooh. But the idea of these videos is I'm not gonna film the entire thing. Probably gonna try and get like an hour in each day, and then at the end I'll sort of just have like a segment at the end that I've recorded. Just my progression, you know, so you can sort of see how far I've come and taken something. But this is where I'm going to add his eyes, which is going to be kind of weird. Try and define that a bit more. I always take I think facial features are probably the most important thing about a character, if it has a face anyway. The face says a lot, as I was talking about, you know, lips and stuff before. If you watched that other video I did, I don't know, it is this sort of, well, it isn't it? It's what you communicate with your face. I mean, body language is one thing, but you know, you check out the body language if the face isn't giving you anything. Another thing that I'm probably going to do soon is I'm going to start working in perspective mode. Because things, especially when you're working on organic stuff, they can look different in perspective. So it's important to bear that in mind. I'm not liking this sort of curvature that I'm getting. It's starting to look a bit happy. I suppose that'll probably change a little bit when I get the teeth and stuff in there. Take that lip area, probably continue that up. I'm just making this up as I go along, you know. Just bearing in mind this inspiration around here. But other than that, I'm quite literally just making this up. I'm not quite sure how this transition between these. I guess it's part of the jaw, really. It's going to connect. See, he doesn't have a neck. Well, I suppose that was where his neck would have been, and usually they have those large tendons that come down. Maybe sort of push that in a little bit. Just trying to figure out where that muscle would go. I may as well create that sort of, you know when people have like muscular shoulder blades and you can see the collarbones sort of coming up to the shoulders, and it creates sort of like a triangle diamond shape across this area. I'm going to add some of that in there. Because what he's got going on there, you know. So I can probably identify this as some sort of collarbone thing. It's going to come in like so, and then that's quite like that actually, if it's connecting round there, and that plane or muscle sort of continues around that. Yeah, I like the flow. Sort this shoulder out a little bit. I feel like it needs to come in a little bit. Ah, shit. Another thing that I feel I should say is that it's pretty obvious, but you should really look at your model from all different angles, because it may look good from one angle and then in another it just looks completely awful. And when you've been working on something for hours and hours, it is well, it's not uncommon to find that mistake. That changes everything. Okay, and just going to sort of get in some of this thing here. What's going on? Some sort of weird, I don't know. No idea what it is, but I like it. Thinking about shapes and silhouettes. I want to give this guy a bit of a belly as well. I'm going to skip out the muscular hard look. Just go for this sort of bit of a belly. It's sort of like bulging around a little bit. And I'll have like sort of rib cage sort of area coming down, and those little muscles there, so it connects onto this major sort of back area. The love handles down to these two muscles right above his ass. The thing I like to do about muscles is really over-exaggerate the bulges and things, and then when you're sort of happy with what you're getting. The one thing I do know about back is that it has these triangular shapes, are really sort of predominant. Usually if you just get a bit lost, just put some of them in and it looks good. I'm going to study anatomy one day and really master it, but I don't know, just for this sort of getting back into things, I'm just going to have some fun with this sort of lizardy type guy and just not worry too much about everything. Yeah. Just playing around with his silhouette a little bit. I think I might pull these down a little bit. Maybe sort of have a bit of a bit more. Yeah, it ended too harshly before. I think I'm probably gonna have a bit more, add a bit more sort of weight into these a little bit, so they don't look like solid, but like stone before. Which wasn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's not the look I'm going for with this guy. I think these shoulders probably need to overlap this a little bit better. Without too much predominance. Just refining that shape a little bit. That's a little bit better, it's a little bit more convincing. It'd be a lot easier to solve this issue in the sort of higher subdivisional levels, but for now I'm going to leave it at that and just work on a little bit more the overall. Let's bring out these hips. Legs have always been a really weak point for me. My anatomy knowledge for legs is very limited at the moment. It's the key area that I need to work on. In fact, just the whole lower body is probably an area of mystery to me right now. Yeah, I'm much more familiar with the top half, and I probably intentionally neglect doing this bit just because I'm not comfortable with it, so it's probably going to be the area I'm going to practice most. So you can't be good at one thing. Your eyes notice things too easily, and that's the thing, man. If you have one sort of major flaw in your model, it's gonna ruin it, everything, because your eyes are just so good at picking up those sort of mistakes. Okay, it's entering unknown territory now. Look at this reference I've got. Just trying to put in some sort of knee shape. These big leg muscles. Especially on this side. On this side as well. Looks a bit strange. I probably need to bring out that shape a little bit more. This is killing it for me. This. Looks a little bit better. Maybe if I bring out this sort of back bit here. That's okay. And now for the lower part of the legs. Just gonna get in these calves. Sort of cut into this little bit here, and just try and sort of make that nice oval shape the calves have. Try and not make it look bent. I found as well that the bones, the shin bones, have like sort of mainly come from that direction, and they sort of like, I don't know, have this nice natural curve to them. That looks a bit bent. Okay, I have to use my move tool now. Just try to make these look, I mean, have the right sort of curvature, but that's sticking out way too much. I like this shape, but this bit here is looking a bit weird. I don't want to make it too sort of fragile looking, as this creature's going to be, you know, pretty deadly looking. And maybe sort of pull that in a little bit, give it a bit more gradual. Make this bit here a bit more. Yeah, that was okay. It's got those sort of, I don't know, comedy skinny legs. I really do like using this move tool though. You're just moving the mesh, moving the vertices. It has an entirely different effect than sculpting, which is nice. The thing about leg muscles is that they seem to really sort of, they just bulge out straight away. They're not very subtle at all. I think so far those anatomies looking pretty cool. I'll be interested to see what it's going to look like with the eyes down here. It's going to take some work to make that, to make it look convincing. And last bit now is just to do a bit of work on this ankle area, which I'm going to, in similar fashion, have the bone for this to sort of twist out like that. Let's get that sort of, try and give it sort of familiar features, like how the human sort of foot has an area where it sort of gets pushed in a little bit. I'm just going to turn on back face masking so I don't get that problem. You know, where it was pushing that area down. Let's define some feet. I'm just going to have sort of very human-y toes and stuff. I feel like they'd work. Probably shove some claws in there or something towards the end. Yeah, may as well make that bit look a bit more muscular, pull that down. Give it some sort of nice planar, a nice curve and stuff. Push that bit in. Right, that's pretty much it so far. Let me just, I don't know. Yeah, it's looking a bit weird. I think with the feet, I shouldn't have. Yeah, it should be more dramatic angles. Yeah. Okay. I'm just being very nitpicky now. You know, exaggerating some areas and resolving issues in others. Once you have that, like, once you're at this sort of stage, you can sort of just refine your ideas a little bit. Ready for the next sort of subdivision level. I really do like this sort of shark's head I've going on. That's pretty cool. Okay, that's pretty much going to be it for the sort of base sculpt. Now that I've got the idea out of my head, all it's going to take is just a matter of refining and making the anatomy as convincing as possible. Okay. my favourite part of doing creatures is that the anatomy doesn't always have to be 100%. Well, it doesn't have to be accurate, does it? I mean, this creature obviously doesn't exist, so you can just have some fun with it, which is ideal for me, as I'm not a master of anatomy. Should probably separate this out a little bit. Alright, that's pretty much it, man. That's the base sort of model. All that's left to do now is to subdivide and just continue with the process of refining and detailing and making it look like this, basically. The plan I have for this is, I'm not going to film the entire process. What I'm going to do is probably going to spend well, as much time as I do today, just refining and whatever, and then I will record maybe sort of 10 minutes before I sort of finish for the day, and then I'll upload it to YouTube and repeat the process tomorrow. So I'll always film like an hour, 40 minutes of footage, just me sculpting. Do a bit more later on, and then upload the progress. Opposed to shooting all the time. I don't know why. It's just sometimes it's nice just to go along and don't worry about the recording corrupting and all this stuff, and just sculpt away, doing whatever. I'm going to stop this video in a second. That webinar with Cesar starts in 10 minutes, so it's going to be quite inspiring. Right, that's it guys, so far. Some sort of humanoid lizardy shark man. Okay, just gonna save this. New creature. We'll call him Shark Hybrid. Save that. And I guess the updates of this are going to be instantaneous for you, but for me it's probably going to be about 2-3 hours. Okay, so I'll see you in a bit. Okay, just close the door. It's like 1 AM now, so my parents are sort of sleeping, and I watched back the video that I did, and the breathing's like really heavy, so you can hear me doing all these. I sound like Hannibal, who sort of had this artistic session. It's like I haven't really done much because my mate randomly came around and we went to go play pool for a bit, so spent about an hour 50 minutes just going around and refining what I had on the next subdivision level, just using clay build-up. And I don't know, I'm just trying to be very suggestive with my strokes, trying to make obvious transition of these muscle groups that I'm putting in. I don't want the cavities to be too extreme, as it wouldn't be realistic. But I want it to be a noticeable sort of, some sort of definition between them. But yeah, I've defined everything a lot better than it was, especially the belly area and around this area. The arms need a lot of work, and my legs as well. But I've got most major landmarks in there. Everything's looking pretty good. Yeah, just a few key areas that I need to solve. And biceps a bit overwhelming. You can always see a bit of tricep in there as well. To be honest with you, I haven't really done an awful lot of anything special, to be honest with you. It's just literally been clear brush and move brush. That's pretty much the only tools I've used so far. Maybe a bit of H polish now and again, but nothing major. So I'm really not sure what details I'm going to have on this guy. Apart from I know he's going to have teeth and stuff. Not sure about clothing or anything, any sort of accessories. I also point ahead and putting this eye down at the bottom, which I think works okay. Probably going to keep it. Can't really do much of it right now, but it looks okay. Pretty strange anyway, it's pretty different. Looks a bit lazy. I have to change the lighting a lot when I'm using this bit because it's in shadow. It's got a matte cap pearl. It's not, that's pretty, it's even worse. The eye is probably going to get really refined later on, and I have more work with. But the actual placement of it is pretty cool. I quite like it. Yeah, I'm probably going to make them very sort of squinted, barely open. And I think tomorrow probably go up like 2 subdivision levels, and that's going to be like pretty high fidelity. I probably won't get to the detailing stage tomorrow, as I really want to, improve my level of sculpting as a whole, the overall quality of it. Like that cool comic book sort of muscle group in the arms. I'm just trying to be sort of, when you see a sculpt and it looks like really spontaneous with all the brush strokes and stuff, just being sort of very suggestive. Yeah, the arms need some work. I'm going to need some proper reference for this area, as I'm sort of guessing a bit right now. I'm going to get some teeth in there as well. It's just going to take away that happiness that he's got going on. Probably going to go for sort of lots of small teeth. Yeah, nice and tedious for me. that's pretty much it for today. Trying to go for that really tight skin look as well. It's really stretched across. It's quite hard to achieve that sometimes. So it really does depend on your brush strokes a lot. Probably have to use a bit of standard brush with lazy mouse to get that nice, smooth sort of feel. Yeah, I quite like this guy so far. He's pretty cool. Not sure about this anymore though. Probably should end sort of bring that up like that. 'Cause there's gonna be like gills going down there. Try and get that nice sharpness to this muscle. Yeah, that's a bit better. I think he's coming along quite nicely though. I'm going to give him some sort of velociraptor claw coming out of there. Should look pretty cool. I must admit though, these feet are a bit strange. Yeah, that's cool. That's it guys. Probably gonna play some games or something for a bit. Or maybe I should just sleep. I can even know a normal person. Okay.